Hey everyone, welcome to English Professor. New Criticism, post-World War I school of Anglo-American literary critical theory that insisted on the intrinsic value of a work of art and focused attention on the individual work alone as an independent unit of meaning. It was opposed to the critical practice of bringing historical or biographical data to bear on the interpretation of a work. The primary technique employed in the new critical approach is close analytic reading of the text, a technique as old as Aristotle's Poetics. The new critics, however, introduced refinements into the method. Early seminal works in the tradition were those of the English critics I. A. Richards, Practical Criticism, 1929, and William Empson, Seven Types of Ambiguity, 1930. English poet T. S. Eliot also made contributions, with his Critical Essays Tradition and the Individual Talent, 1917, and Hamlet and His Problems, 1919. The movement did not have a name, however, until the appearance of John Crowe Ransom's The New Criticism, 1941, a work that loosely organized the principles of this basically linguistic approach to literature. Other figures associated with New Criticism include Cleanth Brooks, R. P. Blackmur, Robert Penn Warren, and W. K. Wimsatt, Jr., although their critical pronouncements, along with those of Ransom, Richards, and Empson, are somewhat diverse and do not readily constitute a uniform school of thought. New criticism was eclipsed as the dominant mode of Anglo-American literary criticism by the 1970s. To the new critics, poetry was a special kind of discourse, a means of communicating feeling and thought that could not be expressed in any other kind of language. It differed qualitatively from the language of science or philosophy, but it conveyed equally valid meanings. Such critics set out to define and formalize the qualities of poetic thought and language, utilizing the technique of close reading with special emphasis on the connotative and associative values of words and on the multiple functions of figurative language, symbol, metaphor, and image in the work. Poetic form and content could not be separated, since the experience of reading the particular words of a poem, including its unresolved tensions, is the poem's meaning. As a result, any rewording of a poem's language alters its content, a view articulated in the phrase "the heresy of paraphrase," which was coined by Brooks in his The Well-Wrought Urn, 1947. Studying a passage of prose or poetry in new critical style required careful, exacting scrutiny of the passage itself. Formal elements such as rhyme, meter, setting, characterization, and plot were used to identify the theme of the text. In addition to the theme, the new critics also looked for paradox, ambiguity, irony, and tension to help establish the single best and most unified interpretation of the text.
Thank you for listening. Do subscribe if it was helpful. And don't forget to leave your comments.